Hi there, folks. I'm Foxxyboi. I'm back at it with Kima. Kima, tell me, what's been the process in preparing for your Club FYNN set?
Well, surprisingly, I actually had waited a little while for a couple of songs that I got the preview to be released. So it was kind of within the last week of the deadline that I managed to get things recorded and sent out. But I think the end result is going to speak for itself, because they were worth the wait for me, so hopefully it's worth the wait for everybody else.
So tell me, what has been your experience in the VR DJ or maybe the club scene? What's it been like?
Surprisingly, I started off among completely different communities. I had a definitely different experience starting in VR chat some 5 or so years ago. My first experience in the club scene, believe it or not, was the lap dance communities. And that was from me basically reaching out to a friend saying like, hey, I'm looking for something new and different, trying to change up how I approach different people socially. And she was like, well, I've got this one thing. I don't really know if it's your type of thing or not, but figured, might as well give it a shot. And kind of one thing led to another, where I even got involved with another partner club with them, which dealt with a very similar thing. I had started DJing for both clubs, actually for their lap dance events. And from there, I had actually went on to being a go-go dancer for one of the clubs. And it all led up to me actually dancing for the big show. It was the whole big Muzzfest thing. So it was really cool to be able to dance for that. But because of that whole entire experience, I got to see the general rave scene within VR chat and got involved with it. Like, oh wow, there's something here that I had no idea existed. And one thing led to another, where that same friend who got me involved with the other clubs invited me to play for one of her events. She used to work with VRCon as well as VCAT. And it was, I think, the 2021 VCAT. No, it was the Pride, the Pride dance that they did. I can't remember exactly what the
Oh,
event was
right.
called
I
at
think
this
I
point.
vaguely remember it too.
But she had invited me to play for that because she had known that I had been a DJ a long time ago. She was like, well, show me what you got. So I was like, all right, cool. And that was like my first booking. Went in there and it was a little rough because I was still pretty rusty, but I was like, oh wow, this is fun. I want to do this more. So I started kind of reaching out to different friends who had other smaller venues. Another friend from that one partner club had what they called the 90s arcade.
Mm.
And they had a little DJ night that they did there. Got involved with that. Did a set in a completely different genre than what I did the first time. And I was like, wow, that was actually really good. It did considerably better than my first time. And it just kind of kept snowballing from there because I was showing other clubs, like, hey, I'd like to play and I'd like to apply to play. Here's what I've done so far and here's what I've got. And they're like, oh, wow, you're actually pretty good. Yeah, give you a shot for one of our new DJ nights. It felt really nice to be accepted, like, even if I was a furry, it didn't matter to people. It was just like, oh, well, you're a cool DJ, cool person. You play good music. So it kept on from there, and I kept on finding places, and here it is, like 3 or so years later. Yeah, 3 years, almost to the date now. And I have played for probably 30 to 50 different venues within VR chat, as well as a variety of communities. It's been a wild ride. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
So it seems that you have been in VR chat for quite a lot longer than most. That begs the question then, when it comes to DJing in VR chat, what was it like back then and how is it now? Is it better? Is it worse? It's more difficult, easier?
It's nice to see that everybody's so open to newer DJs so that they can actually show what they've got without being like, oh, well, don't mess up. It's like, by all means, mess up. This is your chance to show people that you are new, that you are interested, and you want to learn, you want to experience it. And don't let that stop you if you mess up, that you can keep going, because there's a lot of people who are like, hey, don't worry about it, go on to your next transition, go on to your next set. You know, learn from your mistakes, keep going forward. And I've loved that about this scene.
So, in all of your years, can you tell us a little bit of the techniques that you've learned and that you'll be utilizing in this upcoming set?
The digital age has definitely brought a lot more ease of use to everything, whether it be the equipment that we actually use or just how we experience the music. Back when I first started off, things were a lot more analog. And we're talking about like 20 or so years ago, where we didn't have any sort of beat sync or beat grid. You were really left to just what you had for your ears. And that was about it. It's a lot easier now to just even visually see what's going on in the song. And it has definitely influenced my style, where I may have let certain transitions either go on longer than they used to, or even shorter. I'm able to kind of create a bit of a system now that works for me, where I can actually see different things that's coming up in the track. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I can probably do a mix point right there and it'll go really well. And then even live, never having it done before, it's like, oh, wow, that came out really well. It's been a huge shift from what there was 20 years ago to now. And personally, I embrace it. Some people are like, oh, well, you're not a real DJ if you do that. And it's just like, well, we used to have, little hand grind everything for drills and stuff, and then we had power drills. It doesn't mean anybody came out there and said, oh, well, you can't use a power tool now. You got to use the tools that are given to you. And as the time progresses on, there's newer and newer tools.
Speaking of tools, what tools are you using currently? What's your software and hardware?
So I used Tractor Pro 3 for the software, and I use the Tractor Control S3 right now. I started off with the S2 Mark III as my first digital controller, which was really, really good actually, especially for the price. I am looking to upgrade to the S4 Mark III and potentially even something bigger and better in the future. I do want to get back into using Pioneer equipment now that they've got way new technology than they used to back then, because I started off with Pioneer CDJ S100 or 100S, excuse me, and a much older mixer than they have now, and just everything has drastically changed. But yeah, that's what I have now is Tractor, and I enjoy using it. It's clean software, very clean hardware. It's laid out well. I enjoy using it.
Who are you? I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but who are you getting inspiration from in the DJ scene these days? We had a little bit of a conversation before we started filming, and you were talking to me about this. What was the Western mix thing?
It is. I'm going to go back onto what we actually had for that conversation, because it was really fun. It's so cool to see newer DJs and even more unique styles from different DJs. Because just recently, I went to an event that, well, everybody probably knows her name at this point. Rue puts on an event called Kaleidosky, and she had booked a DJ that did a electronic Western set. So it was all like country Western, but in that more like upbeat EDM style of things. So it was a big variety of different songs, but they were so well blended together, and it was an incredible experience, because you don't really hear things like that where people go with a theme that you don't regularly hear from folks. and it was such a breath of fresh air to just hear something that nobody's doing. And it was so exciting. It was exciting to basically walk up to ruins like, I get it. They're doing this whole like modern country western thing. And she looks at me, she's like, "You get it!" And she's like, "Oh, I can't wait for you to tell the DJ and stuff." I'm like, "Yes, because this was absolutely incredible. This is a great ride." And they were excited to hear that people loved it because they didn't really know what folks were going to think. I mean, I never really was a fan of just like standard country western music. There's a lot of what I played for years as a more professional DJ. It was just what's popular where I live for, the kinds of parties that we did, whether it would be weddings and stuff like that. And so it was never really my thing, but to hear stuff like that where it's like all the electronic modernized style of country western, I was like, this is great. This is just awesome.
There's a lot of great DJs on the scene right now. And, actually, this begs the question then, because the Western music thing was very different and probably not a lot of people know about it, but what maybe are some things that you think no one is talking about on the scene?
I just think that there's a big untapped market for more unique themes that folks could be doing, whether it's, similar to the country western sort of thing. I know I personally like seeing folks try to do something that nobody else has, whether it's mixing in a kind of sound that you don't normally hear or a theme, just anything. Like, I know a couple of DJs who've been like actually putting like chiptunes in their drum and bass mixes, and I'm like, wow, that's actually really cool. I love this. So if anything, I wish that I heard more people talking about like, hey, what can we do differently? What's nobody doing right now? I think that would be a good start.
So I've only got one more question for you this evening. And we got to save the best for last. What is a piece of advice you can give to someone looking to start DJing?
Don't let your mistakes stop you. In fact, embrace them. Show people your mistakes. Ask for advice. Because there's plenty of DJs out there, new, old, that have advice and are willing to give it. Some of them might be a little bit too eager to give it, but the folks who are often more reserved with their advice tend to be the folks who want to listen more to give you even better advice. Because there's always a types of folks out there who are like, oh, you could have done this better, and don't let that chase you off. Go for the folks that are genuinely out here listening to you, that you know have experience, that might not be just pushing it forward. They probably have things to say that they keep reserved because they don't want to chase you off. But they definitely want to have you ready and willing to listen to advice and be like, hey, this is what I did. I'd like to have you hear it. It might not be all that good, but maybe I can improve somewhere. What kind of advice might you have? What would you do better? I think that would be a really good thing to see. But definitely don't let your mistakes chase you off. Have a willingness to learn, have a willingness to push forward, always improve. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I'm always looking to improve. I want to keep moving forward. I want to keep doing new things. I want to keep on keeping on. That's the way of the world. You got to keep moving forward. You're not done messing up. So keep making mistakes. Keep aiming to do something different. Don't just get comfortable. Always move forward. Always try to make mistakes. Try something new. You'll be better for it.
Thank you. Excellent advice. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with me this evening. Thank you so much for talking with me. I am so happy to have you on this year's Furality Club FYNN set list. I'm excited. All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for watching. Goodbye now.